Good morning, traders. So how do we trade the Aussie, the South African top 40 today? Um, yeah, I think this is still an asset that I have no intention of trading at the moment. It is extremely volatile and you can see it's been manipulated. So what you've got is nice pass is the one that's been manipulated, and there's just no clear direction as to what's going on. So, and because the South African market is a very low volume market in comparison to the rest of the world, it's pretty easy for the big boys to manipulate this. And again, you can see, I mean, you've got a pin bar here, then you get an engulfing. Now you've got a hanging man. So, this could be read two ways, that the bears were in control, then the bulls tried to pull it back, and we're going to get a rollover. So, this engulfing was pretty much a bullish pattern, okay, and now we've got a bearish pattern. So bearish, bullish, bearish. So those are, there's three reversal patterns here: one to the down, one to the up, and another one to the down. So your guess is as good as mine as what's going to happen. If I just look at the moving averages, we've had a crossover, which is bullish. Problem is we're outside the Bollinger here, and we're also starting to get to a position where if it does roll, it's going to roll violently. Okay, so this level here, what we bounced off, is the key level because this was our big head and shoulders. So that is the level that we need to watch for. Yeah, I can't really say much more on the daily, so let's just move on. If we look at the 4 hour, you can see we are flirting with the 200 moving average here. And I think that's going to be our critical aspect here. So a break below, well, it'll be this fractional level here. So a break below this fractional level is definitely going to bring this gap into play and possibly more. Okay, so for now, we are below the 200 moving average on the 4 hour. So a lot of institutions will be looking at that as we should be looking for shorts, which is why you're going to see this dogfight happening at this level. And the problem for me is that the dogfight is in a 1,300 point range at the moment. So I don't know. I'm not really that keen to look at this at this stage. Let's just have a look at the 1 hour, see if there's anything different. And you can see here we came down. There's our inside tails, and in typical Aussie fashion, it shoots past. Normally, it shoots past around 200 points of a level, so almost 200 points. This was 100, well, not almost 140 points. Okay, looking at the hour, you can see we had a grouping here and a crossover. So there is potential here that this may be moving to the upside. But I think there's two things to look at here. So the first thing is, let's just pick this fractional level up here. And we've got that level. So this is a consolidation pattern after the strong move up. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking at and what my gut is telling me. So we'll look at the ichimoku to see if there's anything different. But for me, looking at this at a glance right now, there is potential for, or there's merit in looking for a long. Somewhere off the bottom here, or alternatively on this inside tail breakout. Okay, the thing that really worries me and it's bugging me bugged me on Monday, okay, and it's bugged me on Tuesday as well, is that we have yet to come down to test this breakout or close this gap. So we made an attempt at it, and you would have thought that the bulls would have left it come and close this gap before climbing in, but they didn't. They sort of ambushed this early, and that to me is always a worry, because when it leaves these gaps here, and the gap I'm referring to is from the previous high to where the new low is, there's a gap there between the two. So when these gaps are left open, more often than not, they are filled. Okay, so that is my worry. And the other thing that is bugging me is if I look at that, we have a flat bottom triangle brewing here. Okay, and that is a bearish pattern. Okay, so even though it is a consolidation, so it could be a consolidation for a move continuation to the upside, or it could be a consolidation forming a top. There's nothing that tells me differently at the moment. Okay, so, and I think if you are trading this, you'll see the first half hour sort of break above the first half hour on Monday would have given you a trade, but wouldn't have been something to hold. It would have just been a short scalp. Break above the first half hour on Tuesday would have given you a trade. Sorry, this is Friday, Monday, Tuesday. So Friday would have given you a trade. Monday would have given you a trade. So break above the high of the first half hour would have given you a trade, and then consolidation, get out of it. We fell off, or nice pass fell off, and then at the close, all of a sudden the buyers step in again. 500-point move to the upside after driving it down. So manipulation deluxe as far as I'm concerned. Let's just move on. Get to a ichimoku, and I don't want to use the half hour, I want to use the hour. So you can see a lot of confusion on the ichimoku here. Trend has been strong. We had a bearish crossover, and we had sort of a bullish crossover on this bar, and then we are bearish at the moment. But we're bearish because of where my broker has put its closing bar. So that'll change at the open. At the moment, Czechoslovakia is also underneath price, which is not very good. The only good thing that I can see here is that we have a very green and very bright cloud. So in other words, the future is bright. Okay, so last thing on price action here is we did technically form a higher high. Okay, so higher low. So there's a low, we made a high, then we made a higher low, but we haven't really made a higher high. And you can see if not even Fibonacci is playing with this setup here. This is pure manipulation. Okay, it's not even consolidation. It is pure manipulation. So for me, I'm staying far away from this at this stage. Okay, as we pointed out earlier, we do have a 200 EMA here. Kijinsen is flat, and that always worries me. When you get a flat Kijinsen like this, and you get Kijinsen rolling, I pointed this out on the Dow video. Let's see if I've got another one here. Not really. So basically what happens is a small one here. So you can see how Kijinsen flattens out, and then Kijinsen rolls over, crosses over, and then accelerates. Okay, so often, and there's always a big gap between the two, so they're quite far apart. So if you look at what we have here, look at the size of this distance between the two. Okay, and you can see Kijinsen is kind of like rolling. So although it's still in a bullish pattern, there is a very strong likelihood that this either continues sideways, and then Kijinsen will suddenly start pointing up, or we're coming back to test the break of the cloud. And have a look where that is. I mean, that's all the way down here. So that's closing this gap here. And then you have another bit of flat cloud further down, which would test this previous breakout here, over there. Okay, testing that previous breakout also exposes this daily gap, which is a massive gap as well. So this thing here is 600 points. Okay, so at this stage for me, looking at the 4 hour, we're kind of going to have to break above these fractional levels for me to have any confidence we're moving to the upside. And the problem with that is my stop loss is 1,400 points away. So, I'd rather trade the DAX or the Dow. And in fact, the Dow has got a much better setup. It's in a pretty well-defined uptrend, so you're fairly safe in buying into that on every dip. Okay, and lastly on the daily, we've broken through Kijinson here, but we haven't had a crossover. Okay, so kind of a mixed bag for me at the moment. Part of me is saying that we need to find some form of a pullback, but one thing to look out for on the 1 hour is if we do get a crossover of these two again, in other words, blue and red pointing up like that, then there's definitely merit for looking for a trade. But there's nothing, these levels are far apart for me. So these are the two fractal levels you need to watch. It's the high and low of yesterday. And that's the simplicity of it. So, in my opinion, is when it starts doing like this, rather than trying to force the trade, just look for something different. And I'll show you on the Dow Jones. If you look at the 4 hour here, you can see how everything is pointing to the upside. We're breaking through key levels. We've got a massive head and shoulders here. So there's a much better setup here to be long, and there's no reason to get out of any longs there. Whereas the Aussie, you'd be a fool trying to hold on to your trades at the moment because it's going to burn you badly. Okay, so for the Aussie, I think I'm not trading as sitting on my hands. I'll be looking to add to my current positions on the Dow, and possibly even looking at the DAX for the DAX to start picking up. But the Aussie at the moment, I'm expecting more of the same, pretty much. Violently up, violently down, and just no opportunity to get into the trade properly. Okay, but yeah, that's my take on this at the moment. My advice is just to leave it alone, look at something different until we start being a little bit normal, So you had the opportunity here on the breakout of the cloud, and you had the opportunity to kind of leave this for a while, and then that opportunity is waning at the moment. Okay, sorry, and then the last thing here is, there's a couple of things that you could argue, like that. But I wouldn't even bother with that. Keep the horizontal lines. It is in a consolidation phase, and that's what you need to trade. Okay, there we go. No, that doesn't help you much, but that's just my opinion of this. It's not something worth trading at the moment. Way too volatile for my likings, and I like to keep my stress levels down. So anyway, guys, catch up with you later. Cheers for now.